So just be well. It's phenomenal to have this opportunity to share with you, with leaders in their field related to living a more mindful, vibrant, fulfilling life. I'm Jonathon Collopy, your moderator from Your Why. I have over 30 years experience in mindfulness, mental health and wellness. And I'm very excited to have our guest today. We're going to be talking about cooking the rainbow. And before we launch in with Chef Bay, our guest, one of the things that I'm aware of in mindfulness is really to take in the experience of eating and selecting your food and having your whole relationship to food to be much more of a mindful process. Some of us, myself included at times, it's kind of a side thought just to eat food and then move on, versus a much richer, broad experience of having the taste and the sensation and the experience of flavors. And I know Chef Bay is going to expand on that and take that into the cooking and the preparation. So Chef Bay, tell us a little bit about yourself and then we'll launch into our topic.
Awesome. So I'm Chef Bay, but my real name is Bailey. It's a good nickname. And I am a plant-based chef. I'm classically trained, but now I have transitioned over to plant-based a few years ago. And essentially, I help people heal from the inside out while teaching them how to cook and really love plant-based food. So yeah.
Fantastic. So tell me, cooking the rainbow, what are we talking about?
Yeah, so cooking the rainbow is something that I always like to do for myself personally. The first thing is it keeps things super interesting. So when we're thinking about the rainbow, we're literally thinking of something as simple as the colors and getting as many colors into our dishes and our recipes that we can. And so yeah, it keeps things really interesting and super fun. I think having fun in the kitchen is like one of the most important things that you can do. Instead of looking at it as like a chore, looking at it as something you get to do rather than something you have to do. And it's also cooking the rainbow and eating the rainbow is kind of like taking a multivitamin. You're getting all of the different vitamins and nutrients that you need in a day to be a happy, healthy, thriving person and to support your immune system. And so when we can focus on all the colors, rather than focusing on what we should leave out or what we can't have, more focusing on what we can have and all the different colors that nature provides. Like there's almost 10,000 edible plants. And so if we can start to incorporate and experiment, we're going to be so much healthier and we're going to have so much more fun with food.
Fantastic. So when you say the rainbow, give me an example of if I was for a given evening to have a meal that is the rainbow, what would you propose I include in that?
So I just made this amazing recipe for one of my corporate clients, and they're a cocoa aminos company. And I did a teriyaki cooked jackfruit, so it's kind of like pulled pork. And then from then I kind of like built off that. So I had a coleslaw that had like watermelon radishes, which are super bright pink radishes, and they're a little more spicy than a regular radish. And like different colors of bell pepper and different colors of cabbage. And then I threw some mango on there, some avocado. And so even in just like that little dish, because we're using different colors of peppers and different colors of radishes, we're getting different nutrients than if we were to just get the one bell pepper. We kind of are switching it up. So it's a really simple way to get more nutrients without trying that much harder, and it's really beautiful too. And that recipe is on my blog if anybody's interested in that.
Wonderful. So I look at, and I would look to you as my expert to tell me, what do I need in my kitchen? How do I stock my kitchen up for moving in the direction of cooking the rainbow?
Yeah, so I think it's about feeling really confident in what you're doing every day. So a couple equipment things that you need is a really good chef's knife. Even if you're not a chef, invest in a chef's knife. Take care of your knife. It'll take care of you back. A high-powered blender. I have a Vitamix, but there's so many different like really good high-powered blenders out there. It's worth every single penny. It took me a long time to invest in a Vitamix at home, but I'm so glad that I finally did. I mean, and that was years back, but once I finally got it, I was like, what was I waiting for? A really good cutting board. So I'm talking to you like on my huge butcher's block, which is an island, which not everyone has, but I think having a big cutting board can be such a big game changer. So many times I see people trying to cook whole meals on this tiny little cutting board, and I think it can really having more space can reduce anxiety when we're cooking, because I know a lot of people experience anxiety when they're cooking as well. And then other than that, I would say to try to have a stocked pantry. So my top tips for stocking your pantry are trying new recipes in the realm of things that you want to be eating. So when you're trying new recipes, you're getting new things like different spices and different flours and different grains. And then before you know it, you have so many different things in your pantry from trying new recipes. And I think that can be really helpful too in just trying to throw a meal together. So yeah.
So my idea of stocking the pantry was sea salt chips and certain nuts. So you're helping me move along the continuum and a little bit healthier, more vibrant offerings, which I greatly appreciate. I want to go back one step. You were talking about cutlery and a good cutting board. Often my wife and I have gotten some things like that, but they don't hold up. And I always know that you get what you pay for. And so is there any particular sites or locations or recommendations you can give us where we can get good products for cooking at home?
Yeah, definitely. I think it depends on your budget. So, like a lower level that I think is good, IKEA has actually a really good gigantic cutting board. And then like Sur La Table has some really good ones. But also, I've seen a lot of people, especially since COVID hit, a lot of woodworkers are coming out with their own cutting board lines. And depending on where you live, I don't know of anyone specifically, but I've just seen them kind of on social media, and some of my chef friends have sent me photos. And so, like Etsy or something like that would be a really good place to find a really cool cutting board that you really like cooking on. That's also really big too.
Great. So you're going to be where James, one of our campers, often likes to pop into my office. So he's visiting. He must like our topic today, which is nutrition. So
Like, I'm hungry.
exactly. So I know produce is one thing that can be challenging I look at fresh produce, and then it also often will go bad pretty quickly. And so I'm just kind of curious about how best to store produce, where to get the freshest produce so that we can be successful. Because I have produce, especially good produce, organic, is very expensive.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a few things when it comes to cost is to always buy in season. Just because you see it in the grocery store doesn't mean that it's in season, and doesn't necessarily mean you should buy it. And the more that we buy food that's out of season, the more that the grocers and the manufacturers think that that's what we want, so they try to continue to ship that to us. So the most important thing is to buy seasonally. Not only that, your food's gonna taste so good if it's in season, and it will last longer as well. So, and when it's picked locally, only had to go a few miles to your grocery store, that's like the farmer's market is a really good place as well. And to get like less expensive produce, I always say go to the farmer's market right at the very, very end. Because if you go at the very end, then the farmers are giving away deals and giving you, half off cucumbers. And that's always been my trick, is to go at the very end and get to know your farmers too, because I pretty much know all the vendors now at all the San Diego markets, and, they appreciate your business. And, if you get to know them and really appreciate them, it goes both ways, and they'll appreciate you back.
It seems like, and help me out, it seems like in San Diego, we have the ability to have a lot of produce year round.
Yeah.
And so, like this season we're in right now, we're kind of coming out of summer into the fall, and with weather patterns and climate change, it seems like seasons extend, and there's kind of this confluence of when the seasons are. So currently, what would be the freshest produce right now that we could be incorporating?
Yeah, so I mean, that's the recipe I'm going to show you how to make in a few minutes. But
Great.
I've got some heirloom tomatoes. Like, look at these. They're so gorgeous. They're bright
Wow.
orange and all different colors. They're so sweet, super high in vitamin C, so really good for your immune system. They're yellow ones. And then we also have these nectarines and white peaches, which I really, really love. Celery. What else? Celery's like on the tail end. We've got figs. Pomegranates are like 3 weeks away. Watermelons right now are like perfect. I love the season. We're not quite there yet, but I love the season when you can buy a watermelon and a pumpkin and they're both in season. It's like the perfect blends of two seasons. I
Wow.
love it. Yeah.
So you and I talked about, the whole idea of the rainbow is incorporating more colorful uh, uh, plants into our diet. And so what would be your recommendation for us to start down that continuum?
Yeah, so I mean, just trying different recipes that you really love. I host cooking classes every other week, so that's kind of why I started because to get into community and to be able to cook new things with people who are also cooking new things, so you don't feel super alone in that. That's a really, really good avenue. So if you guys want to take cooking classes with me, you can head to my website and find out all the info there. And yeah,
Highly,
just
highly recommended. My wife and daughter did, and
yeah.
it incorporated some new things into my home. And why are you laughing there, babe? Didn't they do well? Come on.
It was just a really funny class. I remember.
I'm teasing you. I'm
Yeah, we
teasing you.
have a lot of fun. I think that was that the gnocchi class? I'm not
Yes,
Yeah, that was a really, really funny class.
my daughter's a huge Gnocchi fan, so yes.
Yeah, it was so fun. And I mean, we made purple cassava cauliflower gnocchi and they were so good. And it's just, like the last class we did was a sangria. So we had a mocktail version and a regular version. And we did paella with vegan scallops. And every single person in the class, there was like 40 people, had never made paella before. And they were so just like intimidated by the idea of making paella. And every single person was so proud of themselves after, loved it, like made it again. I've had so many people send me pictures of it again. So it just goes to show that we can totally get into our heads about cooking. And sometimes it takes a little nudge, and I'm a good person to nudge you in the right direction to just kind of jump out of your comfort zone and, just do it, just cook, have fun.
So I think I know for me, my wife does a lot of the cooking. I do a lot of the ordering, and
Yeah.
so uh, in terms of keeping it interesting, because I know we can kind of get in our go-tos and always have this Tuesday or Wednesday or however it is routines. So how do you keep it interesting and fresh? So it's inspiring to cook and have dinner and have meals.
Definitely. I mean, I think the first thing is like there's nothing wrong with like for instance, I grew up having burritos every Monday for my entire childhood. Like and still I call my parents they're having burritos if it's Monday night. But I think the funny thing about that and the cool thing about that is you don't have to basically say that like eating burritos on Monday is a bad thing, but you can just kind of change how you do it. You could eat a tostada instead, or you could make your own like mango salsa instead of the salsa you usually buy from the store. So little things like that. Like I used to love eating Alfredo as a kid, and now I make an Alfredo out of cauliflower and oat milk and garlic and onions, and it's so good. And so just little tweaks of things that we already love is a really good way to kind of get you out of your comfort zone, be super excited about it, and to try something new. And it's not like that new, if that makes sense. And then other than other than that, just like there's magazines that you can buy at the grocery store, like Thrive magazine is really awesome, super colorful, and talking to your farmers. So for instance, like let's say you buy a type of mushroom you've never seen before, ask the farmer at the farmer's market what they would do and how they would cook it, and you'll get some super good ideas that way.
Love mushrooms. Love mushrooms.
Yeah.
So one of the things I'll offer you my critique so that you can come on because this is your expertise. Sometimes plant-based cooking, organic cooking, to my palate, it can be very plain.
Yeah.
Uh, and obviously it's how it's being prepared. But I've had other meals. It's like, oh my goodness, it's a macaroni and cheese, or or a pasta, and it's delicious and has
Yeah.
incredible taste. And so, how do we bring through flavor, taste?
Yeah, totally. That's a very common question. So the funny thing about that in general is most of the time, unless we're talking about like fat from milk, like milk fats, we're getting flavor from plants. So you would never put a piece of chicken in boiling water and eat it and expect it to taste like anything. Usually, what's going to give that chicken flavor is seasonings and spices and citrus and stuff like that. And so, especially when we're talking about cooking the rainbow, like natural foods like this, let's see, like this tomato has so much more flavor than just a conventional Roma out of season tomato that you would buy at the store. And I think a lot of us are used to growing up to that kind of tomato rather than like this. Like this is nature's candy. It's incredible how good these tomatoes are. And I grew up never liking fruits and vegetables, but now I'm so much more inspired. Even as a chef, you know, I am classically French trained, which means that I was trained on butter, sugar, flour, duck fat, like pork belly. And so I totally understand that. I never thought I would go vegan. But now that my entire world is just immersed in plants, I realize how incredibly tasty the plant world is and how the plant world actually provides all the flavors that we need and that we usually get from other dishes. And when we're talking about like, you know, creaminess, like you were saying, pasta or mac and cheese, there's also so many different substitutions for that fat in the plant world, like cashews or like coconut milk. So there's so many different options. Even if you have nut allergies, there's, you know, hemp seeds. There's so many different things that can truly satisfy every palate. And I think it's just not being afraid to season our food because, you know, when we're cooking at home, we just do a tiny little bit of salt and like we're afraid of all the seasonings or we don't have them and we don't want to buy them. But it's definitely necessary to like go and get all the seasonings on the recipe and play with them and have fun with them. And even something super simple like making avocado toast, like shred up some carrots and like put that on top and like some lemon and maybe like a balsamic glaze that you found at the store or something. You know, there's so many different things that you can do that it doesn't have to just be bread and avocado. It can be like this whole amazing other thing that took 2 minutes. So
I really like the couple of things that you just offered there in terms of recipes. And what I would challenge you with, what are your favorite recipes? If you were to sell me on a healthier diet, what I might like, and as well as our viewers, what would they enjoy?
yeah, so I actually just made this recipe for my cookbook. I just ate it right before this. But it's chilaquiles. So it's like one of my favorite Mexican breakfasts. I used to live in Mexico part-time. And it's basically like chips with a verde sauce. And traditionally it has like cracked eggs on it, sometimes shredded meat, and like sour cream. But I do my verde green chili sauce, and then I do a tofu scramble with like black salt, which has that sulfur flavor. So it tastes exactly like eggs. And then I'll drizzle like a cashew cream on top. I've got avocado. Oh, and then I make these carnitas out of mushrooms, oyster mushrooms, and
Ooh.
get them all caramelized. It's so good. That's a really good example of a plant-based recipe that you would never think would be plant-based. And I love Mexican food for that reason because their food is so vibrant, from the tomatillos and the different peppers and all the cilantro and coriander, and all of those things are plants. And so that's giving it all of that vibrancy.
So with Labor Day coming up a week out or so, that's often a big barbecue cooking kind of time.
Yeah.
Any special offerings for this?
Oh my gosh, yes, you reminded me. I we are coming out with an ebook. It's a mocktail and cocktail ebook, which I'm so excited about. Basically, we wanted to offer some super fresh, low sugar, really amazing takes on classic cocktails. There's like a watermelon pina colada in there that can be a mocktail or a cocktail. There's like a matcha milkshake. There's avocado daiquiri. So just some like really interesting cocktails that, you know, I love a good cocktail. I love to go and sit at a bar with like a beautiful view and just have like a really high crafted cocktail or mocktail. And so, yeah, my husband and I, it's so weird to say that, by the way. We just got married a few weeks ago.
Congratulations. I'm excited for you.
Thank you. But he's been working hospitality, you know, bartender and all of those things for 12 years. And so now he works with me full time, but we're like, we need to harness this amazing skill that you have. So yeah, we have an ebook coming out. It should be out a week from today, actually.
And I know you want to do a little demo. You're on the,
Yeah.
so we get a sense of your skills in action here.
Yeah, this one's super easy. So this is a stone fruit gazpacho. I love doing gazpacho in the summertime because it's so hot outside. I'm like sweating right now. And so it's good to do like a cold soup, or you can do room temp as well. And it takes literally 2 minutes to make. So it's really good for like a meal prep, or if you want to just like dip bread in this or whatever.
So you,
So I
you called it stone fruit?
Stone fruit, yeah. So stone fruit is essentially like the category of fruit that's apricots, nectarines, peaches. And the reason why I say stone fruit is because any of those things would go really good in this recipe. So it could be a peach, a nectarine, an apricot, and it would go good. So I have a white peach, so I'm going to use the white peach. And this recipe's on my website too. So I'm going to do a half of this peach. I ate the other half.
Prepping.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm gonna do about like a head of celery, or like one stick of celery. This is from my garden, so it's a lot smaller. And then a half of a shallot. Shallots are like concentrated flavors of onion and garlic, and they're a little bit sweeter. So I like to use shallot, especially if I'm doing it raw. And then I talk about cocoa aminos a lot. I work with this company really closely, but this is what it looks like. It's kind of like a soy sauce alternative. And it's got a quarter of the sodium than regular soy sauce, and it's a little sweeter, so it's really good for caramelizing. But right now I'm just going to use like a tablespoon for flavor. And then I'm going to use about half these tomatoes, just a couple of them. I'm going to save the rest for like a marinara or a Bloody Mary this weekend or something like that. And then let's see, finally I've got some tortillas. So you can use bread or tortillas, but what the bread does is it absorbs a lot of the liquid, so it makes it super thick. And I saw somebody ask, where can you find that coconut amino? So you can find it at any store. So Ralph's has it, Sprouts has it, Whole Foods, it's anywhere. It's by the liquid aminos, the teriyaki sauce, like that section. Okay, and I can't see what the other question is. So I'm gonna do about 2 tortillas. And then from here, I'm just gonna add a little bit of salt. And this is a really good cooking hack too. I have this salt canister, and I always have it filled. And the cool thing about this is I can just kind of move it to the side and grab salt from it. And so it's actually so much easier when you're cooking, so you don't have to use the shaker and shake for like 10 minutes just to get a tiny little bit of salt out. So I always have like a little gram of salt, little tip. And then a little bit of pepper. And then finally, I'm just gonna add a half of a lemon, my lemon squeezer. If you don't own one of these lemon squeezers, you gotta get one. Because then if you have like little cuts on your fingers or whatever, it doesn't get into them and burn. Okay, oh, was the question, do you like Bragg's or coconut aminos better? I think that Bragg's is a little bit more salty. So if I'm making something like a sesame tofu or something like that, I would probably use a combination of the two. But personally, I use the cocoa aminos for everything because it's just like less sodium. So I don't feel as puffy or bloated after I use it. But I like Bragg's too. I use it in a lot of recipes. And so, like I said, I'll use them back to back. So I'm just going to put this on my Vitamix. And I'm going to blend it really quick. So if you want to mute me, you totally can. So I'm not like this super loud. And then I have my...
While Bay's being muted, I just want to say that if people are interested, we're looking at doing an ongoing cooking class through the Y. And I'd love Bay, because she's so talented and knowledgeable, to bring that through. So if there's interest in that, please feel free to put that into the chat, and we can look at coordinating an ongoing cooking class with recipes and skills and support.
Okay, cool. Literally 2 minutes. And that's it. That's our gazpacho. And so all you do is you just pour it into a bowl like this. And you can see it's like nice and thick, which you really want. So you pour it into a bowl, and then from there you can just kind of like garnish it with some more tomato slices, cherry tomatoes, a little bit of drizzle of olive oil, some cilantro, and you're done. It's so easy.
I love it. And that was like 4 minutes or so.
I told you, under 5.
Nicely done. That's the kind of cooking and prep that I could pull off. I did want to mention, I think I got muted during it while you were doing the blender, that at the Y, we're looking at offering a cooking nutrition class in an ongoing way with recipes, support, dialogue back and forth. So if you're interested in that, feel free to put that into the chat or send me an email at jcollopy@ymca.org, because we'd love to bring that through. Chef Bay is such a talent and a resource that our community is very fortunate to be able to have. So Bay, we're gonna have to close, but my last thing would be, for all of us listening, what can we do after this class to take our cooking, our meal prep to the next level?
I would say to just go to the store and buy something that you've maybe never cooked with before. And if you don't know how to cook with it, send me an email or a direct message, and I'll brainstorm some cool ideas with you and send you some recipes. And just do something totally out of the box, get out of your comfort zone. And I think that's the best way.
Wonderful. Well, Bay, again, a pleasure to have you on. I love what you're offering. And I will move in some of those directions and try some of those things out. So, and I know that'll be a hit at home for my family.
Yeah, right.
But thank you so much. And until we see you again and have you again, I hope you be well. And all of our guests, thank you for joining us today, and join us next week for another Be Well. And until then, please do be well. Thank you very much.